Welcome to episode 4 of the Way Back Rehab podcast. Today we're going to be speaking about why progress doesn't feel progressive. And it's this idea that the outcomes we want in a long-term pain journey, it never quite lands. It never feels like we get to those aha moments, and it happens imperceptibly and unknowingly to us. So I really want to guide you through this idea of progress and expectations, because when I talk about mindset, I don't want it to be abstract fluff that is removed from important aspects of physical training and rehab, but it's about the real fundamental core components that are going to massively affect your pain and rehabilitation journey. So what I want to touch on first is this idea that when we begin working with a coach, or we buy a plan, or even, less or so, we'll do a new exercise that we found on Instagram. What happens is this: we see the pain points. Okay, we'll read 5 or 6 things about why this plan is for us and how it solves all of our issues. And it feels serendipitous. It feels like this could be the moment that we're gonna get over the line and it's all going to work. And yeah, my hamstring is tight, and this is going to activate my glute to get my hamstring to push forward, and blah blah blah, and I am going to be more efficient and move with more length and space and ease, and you're visualizing it and your body can feel it, and it just feels glorious. Okay, and what happens is you get this intellectual compression of what progress feels like. You're at the finish line where the peoples are putting the medal on you, so to speak. But what also happens is you intellectually compress all of the muddy stuff in the middle. You've read the pain points, okay, because you're being sold to, but you are not taking in those days where your training balance is wrong and you actually have a couple of bad weeks, or where your exercise execution isn't really good and you're not really getting the benefits from the movement, and so on and so forth. And this is how real life works, okay? Um, we don't just click our fingers and get the outcomes that we want. A big reason for this is this idea of homeostasis. So your body's main job isn't to make you feel amazing. Okay, it's to make you feel stable and alive. The body seeks balance and it adapts slowly, and it resists sudden change, whether that be positive or negative, unless there's a major traumatic event. And it will literally prefer the familiar, even if that familiar includes pain. Okay, because pain is a learned behavior, especially with chronic niggling injuries that a lot of my clients and some of my listeners deal with. So if you've been in pain for months or years, you've had a long-term nagging injury that is sticking around, it took you time imperceptibly to get to that state. It's built gradually. It was unknowing. It was happening in the background. Your body was probably trying its best to prevent it happening, but for whatever reason, it happened. So if you got to that state imperceptibly, unknowingly, gradually, to get out of it, it's going to be, again, imperceptibly, unknowingly, gradual. Your body actually kind of worked hard or your body spent time in that state. So that when the pain is a learned behavior and your body's trying to keep you safe, it's not going to give up that easily. So the pain isn't a punishment or a failure, but an adaptive decision based on information you've been given it. So it's not going to, click your fingers and get out of pain free immediately. And this is why healing feels unsatisfying. There's no fireworks or fanfare. And what happens more that it's more like this: instead of like an on off switch, it's like turning down a dimmer switch 1 millimeter at a time. Okay. Where the room is gradually thrust into like an imperceptible darkness, rather than the light turning on or off. So you don't notice the change, but you notice things feeling different, I suppose. So what happens and how real progress will actually look is that people won't notice it happening. Okay, there will rarely be an aha moment, but life in general will feel a bit less restricted. And the big anecdote I have here is when I was working in a gym in Malta, and I was a lot more active in my day to day after years of corporate work. my back pain, I couldn't point to any one moment where it was better, but just in general, I was just moving around the gym, picking up weights, tidying the gym, whatever it was, training clients, and I was just moving with more freedom. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but things were changing. And it creeps up on you. That's the thing. That's the thing that people speak about when chronic pain goes away. It creeps up on you, and that's how real healing works. It doesn't barge in and announce itself, but it creeps in slowly. So ultimately, yeah, we expect healing to sort of announce itself, but in reality, it's more like a little gentle whisper, a gentle knock on the door. And oddly enough, this is the important part, when you are watching progress and constantly self-monitoring, progress feels slow, but when you step back and trust that it will happen, that's when that's when it occurs. And this idea that you don't work in, you know, minute to minute scanning of your body, but you'll view things in weeks and months in the overall trajectory, the your overall patterns of movement rather than maybe a specific moment that doesn't feel so good. So it's about zooming out is a really important part of our pain and our progress. Okay, so the body will not go by dramatic leaps. That is not in the body style to chunk healing and to take, if you've ever seen that meme of the person, instead of taking one step up the stair, they're taking like aiming to, to do five and they're doing the big split. That's not how healing works. Okay, it's millions of incremental steps that the conscious mind uh cannot perceive. Okay, so in short, in summary, progress isn't missing. Okay, let's just say you're on the right plan, you're doing the right thing, but progress is slow. It's not that it's not there, it's just it's subtle. Okay, and in this impatient world of immediate gratification, we need to understand this sense that progress isn't going to offer itself to us in this obvious way, okay? But rather it's something that builds slowly in this sort of subterranean feel to it, okay? Um, but that's it. That's episode 4. That is, in my opinion, one of the most important mental frameworks to understand around progress is that it is not perceivable to the human mind, okay? And if you truly get this and you can truly trust this, and you actually learn to let go, and as counterintuitive as it seems, that's when the progress starts to occur. So thank you all for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.